Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The first generations of human beings did not commit shirk. They did not associate partners with Allah. But eventually, human beings did. They committed the worst sin of worshiping other than Allah. How did this happen? This happened because shaytan came and convinced one generation to build statues in commemoration of their dead. Then the next generation, shaytan came to them and said, your forefathers used to worship these statues. So they started worshiping them. I wanted to share this story because there are so many wisdoms we can derive from it. But specifically, today I want to focus on the fact that shaytan comes and he will try to lead an entire generation astray. How? By convincing the previous generation to do something, to start moving in a particular direction. In Islam, we have the concept of al-sirat al-mustaqim, the straight path. I want you to think about a long hallway, and on the left and right of this hallway, there are doors, door after door after door, all along the hallway. What Islam teaches us to do is to keep all of those doors shut, locked, so that we remain on the straight path. If those doors are locked, even if somebody wants to go inside, to go astray, they can't. They might bang into the door, they might hit it and try to open it, but despite themselves, they will stay on the straight path because those doors are shut and locked. But what shaytan will do is he will convince one generation, open those doors. Just open them. You can still walk the straight path. I mean, you might walk by and look into one of the rooms and you might find something beneficial, or you might just be able to have a nice glance. But, stay on the straight path, but just open the doors. But the next generation, shaytan will come and will tell everyone to go inside the rooms. That's where you're supposed to be. Don't stay in the hallway. Go into the rooms. Brothers and sisters, the reason why I'm sharing this today is because we've reached a point where we are taking our children and we are forcing them into these rooms. We might not realize it. We might not understand what we're doing, but the doors have been opened and we are forcing our children to sit in these rooms, to enter them. How is this happening? By sending them to public school. When you force your children to sit in these classrooms for the majority of their waking hours, the environment that they're spending in is basically, maybe not literally, but basically telling them Islam is not the truth. Things that Islam teach are false. The purpose of life is not to worship Allah. We're not going to be held accountable on the Day of Judgment for our actions. You don't have to follow the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. Brothers and sisters, imagine this. Imagine if you saw your child and they're sitting there, just innocently there for education because you put them there, because the society has said you have to put them there, and this is what they're being fed. If you believe in Allah and His Messenger, wouldn't you make it a priority to remove your child from that situation? When this happens day after day, year after year, how is that going to affect the generation? I'm going to share some statistics so you don't think that I'm just making stuff up. This is by the Family and Youth Institute. I will have links in the description. Bullying, impacts of discrimination on Muslim youth. 91% increase in hate crimes against Muslims between 2016 and 2017. 55% of Muslim students report being bullied because of their religion. This is twice the national average. 1 in 4 bullying incidents are by school staff. Where does bullying occur? Classrooms, buses, hallways, after-school programs, public spaces like malls and streets, etc. What are the impacts? Increased depression, anxiety, stress, crying, acting out, suicidal thoughts, decreased physical health, connection to society, academic performance, school connectedness. When it comes to premarital sex among Muslim youth, 54% of American Muslim college students engaged in premarital sex. In a separate study with a wider age range, 67% of Canadian and U.S. Muslims engaged in premarital sex. Of the remaining, 50% considered it. Students are receiving sex education from public school, 76%. The mosque, 4%. Their greatest exposure to sexual information came from the media and friends. The least exposure came from parents. 47% of American Muslim college students consumed alcohol in the past year. When did they begin consuming alcohol? 70% before college. Of the Muslim students that felt religion was important, 26% still consumed alcohol. Brothers and sisters, this is just a reminder to myself and all of you about the reality of this life. We are in this dunya as a test. Shaytan wants to lead us astray, wants to lead our children astray. Shaytan will have no authority over the true believers, but part of believing, it's not just in our hearts, it's also manifested on our limbs. It's seen through our actions. Once we realize the danger, the harm our children are facing, as believers, we should act upon this information. The Prophet ﷺ taught us, every one of you is a shepherd, and every one of you is responsible for his flock. We should all keep this hadith in mind and understand we are going to be held responsible before Allah on the day of judgment. We cannot throw our flock to the wolves and expect them to survive. If there is an Islamic school in your area, please enroll your children, get involved. If you don't live near an Islamic school, see if you can move somewhere where there is an Islamic school. See if you can establish an Islamic school. If you can't do any of those things, consider homeschooling your children. Please do not underestimate the dangers of sending your children to public school. Allah knows best. May Allah help us and protect us and guide us. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.